Pinaaki holds an MBA from the prestigious Indian Institute of Management at Ahmedabad and is a graduate of the Indian Institute of Technology at Kanpur. Previously, he co-founded Brainworks, a management consulting firm especially for global startups, and is now the principal officer at Agravity Systems, a startup with a vision to transform agriculture by empowering farmers with AI-driven solutions to manage crop health. Ashok is a respected broker, the former chairman of J. Thomas, a thought leader, and was a longtime consultant to the Rainforest Alliance India. Welcome to the Tea Biz podcast. Thank you so much both for joining me today. My first question, Pinaaki, is sensors are one of the more promising and immediate applications of artificial intelligence. Your backers have a history in tea. What's the most innovative and promising benefit Gravity's drone brings to planters?
Thank you so much, Dan, for having us on the podcast. It's a pleasure to be with you. So at Gravity, we are trying to redefine the way tea has been grown for hundreds of years. Our vision is to make precision agriculture mainstream in tea plantations across the globe. And to achieve that, we're leveraging deep technologies like AI and drones. So, one of the biggest challenges for tea growers is dealing with diseases and pests. It's a constant battle. The losses can be huge. And to make matters worse, they end up using massive amounts of chemicals, super expensive, and they leave high residues in the crop. This is where Agravity comes in. Our deep tech solution essentially minimizes the need for chemicals while maximizing both the quality and the quantity of the tea that is grown. You can think of it like a CT scan for the tea garden. Our AI-powered drones fly over the fields and scan the entire area in just a few hours. They gather tons of data, which we then feed into our diagnostic software. This software is like a doctor looking at your scan. It identifies problems before they're visible, from pest attacks to nutrient issues to diseases. We can even pinpoint the exact spots in the field that need attention. And so once we know what's going on, it's now time for treatment. Our second set of drones act like the doctor prescribing medicine. They fly out to those specific trouble spots, do the spraying, and then head back. And this entire operation happens autonomously. So there's no manual flying of drones. There's no, pilots or human intervention involved. This whole process that we have designed means that we are using fewer chemicals because we are spotting problems early before they spread widely and only spraying where it's actually needed. Plus, it practically eliminates crop loss and boosts the tea's quality. Each of our drones can cover the work of 50 people in no time. This helps tea growers increase their profits while they stay sustainable.
My name is Ashok Batra, ex-tea broker, ex-consultant with Rainforest Alliance, and now we're on this. Pinaaki, I know your connections with tea, with your father-in-law owning one of the biggest brands in Northwest India and tea factory in the Dwas in Northeast India. Would you have any success stories to share with the group? Or in case you don't have, just give us something about your vision and your expansion into the global scenario. What is the bottom line that it will help in transforming the tea estates globally?
We are kicking start in India. As you know, it's close to 20% of global tea that's being produced in India. But right from the first day, we had our eyes set on the bigger goal. Tea is grown in over 50 countries. And whether it's China, Kenya, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, growers are dealing with the similar challenges. Chemical use is high, labor costs are rising, and pests and diseases are a menace, and the crop loss is huge. So our expansion plan globally is all about teaming up with tea growing regions to show how our technology can make a real difference. Take, for example, Kenya, where tea accounts for almost a quarter of the country's export income. There's a lot of pressure to cut down on chemical residues and grow more sustainably. AI-powered drones can slash chemical use and boost yield significantly. And that's a game changer when you're dealing with thousands of acres of tea being produced there. Or take the example of Sri Lanka, where tea is grown on steep mountainous slopes. Our drones are built for that, handling up to 80-degree terrains while spraying with pinpoint precision. That means fewer chemicals, less labor, and everything happening much more efficiently. So globally, the tea industry is expected to top $100 billion in the next few years. And at Agravity, we see a huge opportunity to lead the charge in making tea farming both sustainable and profitable. We've already started our journey in India. 12 of the tea estates are on board. As we perfect the technology, we're going to start the operations in these estates very soon.
Drone and sensor technology. Dig into that a little bit deeper for us so that they understand what multispectral vision is and how drones can communicate with each other through near-field communication tools. Ultimately, the drone is just a vehicle. I mean, it's a drone. The drone is like a transporter. It isn't about drones. It's about sensors.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, actually, Dan, that, drone is just a vehicle. And what makes it alive and intelligent or smart is the sensor technology and the AI that sits on top of that. So both drone and sensor together are revolutionizing agriculture in some really exciting ways. I already mentioned about crop health monitoring. It's become mainstream in a lot other crops, not yet in tea. So you mentioned about multispectral and other sensors. So essentially, what happens with these technologies is that our eyes can see in the visible spectrum of light, right? The famous rainbow colors, Vibgyor, as we say. So that's all we can see. And in agriculture, most of the monitoring that is done in crops is done visually. So the farmer will go in the fields and they will then look at the symptoms that appear on their crop. Everything is very visual. Now, what happens is that when the symptoms actually start to appear, it's not that the disease or the issue has just started there. The disease or the issue or the deficiency has already started a few days or weeks prior to that. Now, what happens with a multispectral sensor, as the name suggests, it's multispectral. So it's not just limited to the visual spectrum of light that we capture as humans. It goes beyond that visible spectrum and can capture, light from other wavelengths as well in both directions. So that's why it's called multispectral. Now, what happens is that when this light is captured, which is invisible to us as humans, it carries with it a lot more information that is there in the visible part of light. So the disease or the issue that is sitting in the crop, it's growing, but not yet become visible as symptoms, not yet manifested as symptoms. That entire thing starts to show itself in the multispectral sensors data. But through that technology, it can be, diagnosed much earlier as compared to conventionally that can be done. So that's multispectral or hyperspectral or thermal sensors is one big part of even our technology that can help spot diseases and other issues much before they manifest themselves. But sensors are not limited to just diagnosis. I already talked about spraying. So there's something called variable rate application of the chemicals. Now, typically in tea or in other crops, we see a uniform rate of chemicals being applied. So there is a tea farm. You go with either a handheld spray or a boom sprayer or a mechanized sprayer, and you spray uniformly across the field, irrespective of whether that part has an issue or not. Now, with sensors, the new technology that comes in is called variable rate of application, where you vary the rate of the chemical that is applied based on what is required. So it's a very tailor-made, it's a very customized way of treating the issue heavily saving on the chemical cost and the chemical infusion that goes in there. See, planting and seeding with drones is taking off too, especially in hard to reach areas. For reforestation efforts or large scale planting, drones together with sensors do a perfect job of doing that. Then there is weather monitoring. Sensors can track microclimates. So today, if I go to Google and I ask about the weather in Sydney or Delhi or Mumbai or New York, I get the macro climate of that entire city. And I have a broad idea of what the weather is going to be. But with sensors, I can get a microclimatic data of how the humidity, the temperature, the weather is going to be locally, hyper locally at the site of my farm. So that's another thing that is, making waves these days with monitoring. Yield prediction, harvest optimization. So there are sensors that look at the crop and then give out data that tells us what's the best time to harvest. So in case of tea, it's like telling what's the best and most optimum time to pluck the tea leaves that will fetch you the highest rate in the market. So obviously, everybody knows that the conventional way is a thumb rule. Let's say you do it every 5 days, or some farms do it every 10 days. But that's not the optimum way. That's the thumb rule. You should actually look at the condition of the new leaves that have come and through sensors, analyze it and then pluck it to optimize for the best quality and the best volume that is available. So all in all, drones and sensors, are making farming smarter, efficient, and more sustainable with every passing day.
Though we've spoken a lot about Agravity's, how it'll help in the tea industry to make it more sustainable and with less chemical use. Can you get into more basics?
Sustainability is a huge focus for us, and reducing chemical usage is a very big objective for very big reason for the existence of Agravity. You'll be surprised to know that in tea, with the use of our technology, the chemical usage can be dropped by a huge 50%. So, and the reason for that is twofold. One, because we are doing targeted spraying and diagnosing the issue in a pinpointed location, because of that, we don't waste our chemical at locations where it's not needed. That's factor number one. The second factor is the way the drone does the spraying, the droplet size, the pressure at which it does it, the height that it uses, it is optimized to the requirements of the plant to make sure that the absorption of that chemical, be it a nutrient, foliar nutrient, or a pesticide, or an insecticide, is optimum and it's maximum, so that the wash off, the leaching into the soil is minimized, and all of it goes into the plant to have its maximum efficacy. And chemical usage is one big aspect of what we are trying to achieve. The other one is water conservation. So the technology that we have built uses about 10 times less water when spraying. So what takes about 150 liters to spray takes only about 15 liters to spray when using the drones. So it's a huge, huge cut on the amount of water that is being used. When it comes to carbon footprint, we are lowering the reliance on chemicals, which definitely cuts emissions tied to their production. And not just that, because we're doing precision farming, we reduce the need for any heavy machinery, which further reduces the fossil fuel usage. On top of it, as the world moves towards, organic stuff, organic farming practices, our solution and technology also makes organic farming more efficacious, because we are applying the right amount of organic herbal chemical wherever it's required and when it's required, in the right dosage with more efficacy. So even if you're doing organic farming in a tea estate, the effectiveness of that goes up manifold by the use of drone technology and artificial intelligence.
But tell me, does that mean all this technology is available to the tea planter as a service?
Yes, Ashok, that's correct. So we realize that the technology that we're building is complex and expensive. So the right business model to go about it is not to sell the hardware or the technology to the tea estate, but rather to sell it as a service. Essentially, what that means is that when a tea estate onboards with us, they do zero upfront investment. There's absolutely no barrier to entry for them. There's no barrier to experiment with us. So we only charge on a sort of per acre basis for the service that we deliver without them having to do any upfront investment of any sort.
So let's look to the future. The future of tea farming, assuming sensors and diagnostics, integrated meteorological systems, sophisticated cultivars. What is the future of tea? Because we hear daily how bleak it is.
So I'm actually quite excited about tea's future. I see a world where tea farms are fully autonomous. Drones will handle everything from planting to harvesting, all guided by real-time data and AI. So it'll not be any guesswork and intuition here, and everything will be data-driven insights to predict exactly what the crop needs at any given moment, whether it's nutrients, water, or pest. So we feel Agravity is going to lead this transformation by integrating machine learning and real-time analytics and sensors into the day-to-day farming operations. In a few years, you could see tea growers, sitting in their office and watching a digital dashboard that shows the health of every section of their farm. Their yields being predicted live on that dashboard, and even recommendations being made on the best times to harvest for maximum quality and profitability. I'd also like to point out that we are heading towards a zero waste farming model. So by using precision spraying, AI-driven interventions, farms are going to minimize the chemical usage, the water wastage drastically. I even see drones being using renewable energy. So, solar-powered batteries, hydrogen fuel cells. These are going to become mainstream in the drone technology that we see today. Again, that makes tea farming almost carbon neutral. And, finally, climate change. The future of tea farming will need to be resilient to extreme weather conditions. So the AI has to be climate adaptive. So, farms will automatically adjust their irrigation, nutrient levels, and protection strategies based on real-time weather data, ensuring that the crops are healthy, despite a very dynamic and unpredictable set of conditions. Ultimately, Agravity's goal is to build this tech-forward, resilient, and highly efficient farming model so that we're not just reacting to the present challenges, we are designing the future of agriculture and, tea specifically, where tech and nature, they work hand in hand and they work seamlessly together.
Produced by Agravity Studios. Connect your voice to the world.